Who knows who Wilma Van Boxtel is? Woohoo! Who has had Little Creatures beer before? Who has had Harris organic wine before? Oh, good, lots of new people. Who has ever had the experience, the pleasure of eating food from the hidden pantry before? Beautiful. All right, welcome. That was just for science. So who's excited about tonight? I'm excited about tonight. It's about inspiration, it's about education, and it's about conversation. That's what Perth Green Drinks is all about. But tonight is also about celebration, because it's the end of the year, it's that time of year. And it's also been 5 years since Perth Green Drinks started. Well, since it was started by Wilma, actually, so we thought we'd celebrate that a little bit as well. But I wanted to thank everyone who supports Green Drinks, even if tonight's your first time. I think that Perth Green Drinks has grown into a very vibrant community of people who are interested in sustainability. Congratulations. I want to introduce myself. I'm Susan Browden, and myself and Flavia Pardini have been organizing Perth Green Drinks for 2012. Yeah! I was like, how long until that happens? Okay. Tonight, it is actually very important for us that Perth Green Drinks is an event that's free to attend because it is about community, but it took a lot of people to make tonight happen. And I just wanted to acknowledge the people in the organizations that made tonight happen. First of all, I want to thank Central Institute of Technology. They've supported Perth Green Drinks for the entire year and also in previous years. They are our faithful sponsor. I wanted to acknowledge Perth City Farm, this venue, who have allowed us generously to put this event on tonight. I want to acknowledge Little Creatures Brewery for providing the beer and cider for tonight. Thank you. I'd also like to thank the Hidden Pantry and and Harris Organic Winery for providing food and drinks for sale tonight. And I'd also like to thank Junkadelic, and we'll be enjoying some music from them a little bit later when we get to the celebration part of the evening. Last but not least, I'd like to thank our three speakers tonight. Our three speakers tonight have all been speakers previously in Perth Green Drinks, and they've come back to share with us how far along they've got with their projects and give us a bit of an update. Tonight's about celebrating success in sustainability. Say that 5 times fast. Okay, our first speaker is Wilma Van Boxtel. She started Perth Green Drinks back in 2007. She's an industrial product designer at Decios, did I say that right? Decios Design, and she's a lecturer at Central Institute of Technology and Curtin University. And I'll tell you more about each of the speakers just before they go on. Richard Hayes is a resource engineer. He's also one of the founders of eTool. Richard was a speaker at Perth Green Drinks back in 2010. Actually, that was the first one I ever attended, just so you know. And we also have Eugenie Stockman. She's one of the initiators and owners of the Green Swing. Eugenie studies a master's in sustainable urban and regional development at Murdoch University. Eugenie was a speaker at Perth Green Drinks in 2011, and she's going to share what's happened since then. Okay, now I have to tell you the necessities. Please put your mobile phones on silent. If you need to go to the loo, if you haven't already found them, they're outside around the back of the building, near the chickens. We're going to have about 40 minutes for speakers tonight, so if you need to get outside, stretch your legs or whatever, but please try to stay in the room and enjoy this information tonight. And after, we're going to have some live music, some more food and drinks, so stick around, don't rush away after the speakers. The first person I would like to invite up to speak is Michael Forte. He's from Perth City Farm, and he's going to share a little bit about this place. So please welcome Michael.
Well, hello. This is actually very exciting for me for a couple of reasons. First, it's my first Green Drinks event. They're quite popular in New York City, where I'm from, and I've been meaning to go for a while, but for one reason or another, never made it. Also, I get a few minutes to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and that is Perth City Farm. I am a manager here at Perth City Farm, and it's an amazing place. So, Perth City Farm, when it comes to green, is green right down to its core. We can talk to you all night about green. So I'm going to give you a really brief overview of some of the projects we have, what we do here a bit, and if you want more specifics, I'll be here hanging around. But first of all, being we're a practicing organic farm, in our very being, we are green in that we remove a lot of waste from the waste stream. So we have a composting system in the back. No farm can do without a composting system. So our system, we get the businesses in the area to bring paper scraps, and some of the landscapers bring grass clippings, and the council will bring tree branches and leaves and that type of thing. Things that would wind up in landfill. Also, we have a number of projects here that we do. We have projects that are aimed specifically at removing waste from the waste stream and creating product. I was wondering why it was hot there in the belly. Thought it was nervous. It was certain projects designed specifically to remove waste from the waste stream. And one of those projects we call the Grow Project, and you might have heard about that. We go around to local cafes on a cargo bicycle and pick up coffee grinds. We take those coffee grinds and we grow mushrooms, oyster mushrooms rather, out of those coffee grinds. We then take those mushrooms and then sold on our Saturday markets. We have a farmer's market here every Saturday. So we sell our own produce and other people's produce. Off of that, we also, off of that same project, we have cafe plots here. So some of the cafes lease a little bit of land, we grow the produce for them, and we deliver it to the cafes on the same cargo bicycle, pick the same day. And also we pick up organic waste from the different cafes in the area and bring it to our worm farm. So basically, we remove, if I ever counted how much waste we remove from the waste stream, it would be tremendous. In this building overhead, there are 60 solar panels. We have a gray water system, and we have a rainwater system. We have drip irrigation for our plants. We have little devices to measure how much water we're using in our garden, so we really try very hard here. So this place is open every day but Sunday. Please, tonight, I invite you to walk around our gardens, see what's going on. If you want to come back at any time, we're here, like I said, every day but Sunday. If you get the itch, you want to get your hands dirty, this place runs on volunteers. Okay, everything you see done out there is almost all volunteers. So, have a great night tonight. Thank you very much for coming, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, I'm going to introduce our first speaker tonight. It's Wilma, who we know and love. Hold your applause. I'm going to introduce Wilma. She's an industrial product designer at Decios. Yeah? Design. And a lecturer at Central Institute of Technology and Curtin University. Wilma believes design is crucial towards moving towards a more sustainable future, as it allows us to rethink how to deliver products without damaging the world around us or compromising the well-being of present and future generations. Wilma is particularly interested in Cradle to Cradle, a biometric approach to design that seeks to create efficient, waste-free systems. And as you know, Wilma started Perth Green Drinks in 2007. So I welcome Wilma.
Good evening. I'm particularly not happy with this thing, but yeah, so I started this thing after, but I had to start the Green Drinks because I was asked to be the liaison for O2, an organization for sustainable designers, which is global all over the world. And because of my credentials as sustainable designer in 2007, I worked with less material. I worked with EST, engineered solid timber. You might have heard of it. That's like I do a lot of work in the furniture industry. And coming from Holland, where we hardly have any wood, and every solid wood is more veneer on particle board, coming to a country where even the insides of the drawers were solid hardwood and everything. I was stunned to see that how much hardwood was going into furniture here. So working with EST, engineered solid timber, is like 4 millimeters on both sides of the really good stuff, like the Marion and the Jarrah. And inside is plantation pine, so that's grown in plantations and still solid wood, but as a designer it also gives you more freedom because you can use straight lines. So you can use the nice, that even sounds worse. So the working with EST and working with 100% biodegradable plastics like Sealform, so they found me, the guys in Switzerland who started O2, and they asked me if I wanted to be the liaison for WA, and I said, okay, what do I do for that? And they said, is there already green drinks there? No, so I had to start the first green drinks. But before that, because I was here a migrant coming to Australia, end of 2003, so quite fresh in Australia. So I started a blog. I'm a blogger. I blog since 2003, so I thought I'd gather all my information, put it on a blog. In the meantime, that blog has 3,000 visitors a month, and you see here more than 40% is Australian, and the rest is, United States is the majority, and then Australia. While all the topics on there are focused on WA or local or design related. But it gave me an idea of what was happening in the world, because being a sustainable designer doesn't mean that you know everything about what's happening in sustainability. So I gathered all those information via my blog. I did some surveys. What shall I do? Shall we go to the pub like everything else in the world? By then, Green Drinks was still small. It had 230 cities were active in the world on Green Drinks. And at the same time I met a girl online from Singapore who was starting in Singapore. So we both started together, and we did a lot of discussion. What are you doing? How are you doing it? So my first Green Drinks was in 2007, September, and I did it in Claremont Pub because I was just around the corner where I live, so I thought if nobody shows up, I can walk home. 80 people came, and 6PR radio called, and I got totally nervous because that was live on radio, and I was there with my mobile talking. And that was the first time. I think a lot of people came because of having a sticky beak. And I see some people here who are coming here for a long time. One of my first speakers, Jim is in the audience, and Envious Garden, a landscape. Scott Ludlam was actually my first speaker of all. He's one of the Greens. He's quite active in the Green Party. So we did, in the winter we were in the Claremont Pub, and in summer we went to the King's Park. So you bring your own, and we had a chat. And it was small groups, like 20, sometimes 30 people, and I got speakers, just very informative. But I got approached by University Club of WA, and they said, okay, we sponsor the venue, and come along. And you get a drink, and they made actually green drinks. So we got that whole theater to talk into, and it became more professional. Then Central came, and they said, okay, next year we are the sponsors. So before I knew it was going on, like I had still my crappy design Perth Green Drinks invites, which are very simple. Just what is it? It's a sustainable network. Because the Green Drinks there's a lot of sustainable networks. There's all the people who think about GM food. There's the people who have doing the greenhousing. There's people doing everything. There's all those separate groups, but there's nothing to bring them together. And Green Drinks is to bring all those groups together, to talk to each other and to come to better ideas and even work together to get a better environmental friendly world. So it's not all the separate groups, but it's to bring them all together. So after 3.5 years I thought, okay, I need to get a bit further, so I focused more on sustainable design. So I had Julie taking over, and she came with a nice new logo, which is more professional. And then this year Suzanne and Flavia took over. So it became even more professional, especially with a good speaker like Suzanne. I'm pretty envious on that. So I'm very, very proud that after 5 years, it's this big. And I'm not used to talk to a big group, big big group like this, I'm used to classes like 20 people, which is a bit more easier than such a big group. But I want to talk a little bit about cradle to cradle because I'm a sustainable designer and sustainable designer product designer. So all products, and I do mainly furniture, but products are products that, like, everything is designed. Everything you work with, this laptop, the camera, everything you use, your clothes, whatever, the cup you drink from. So it has to be designed and it's made of materials, and as you know, we have a population of about 7 billion, more than 7 billion now, and we all need stuff, and there's people becoming more richer, and even the countries who used to have less, they are investing in more. So there's materials, we're depleting the world with materials. A lot of people think that sustainable design is making things from organic material or old packaging, like this clothes, or like the sofa made of the racks and old magazine tables. That's not true. This is statements. This is not sustainable design. These are statements. These are like the chair in the middle. That's even that's bought by galleries, museums. It's not an article that you buy in the shop. And actually, that one in the left, that chair made of pretty hot here. That chair is made of the lips of cans, and it's with those nasty nylon, how do you call those things, tie wraps. So that whole thing exists of about a couple of thousands of those aluminium lips from cans and tie wraps. So it's a monstrous hybrid. It's aluminium, you can't recycle it anymore because of those nasty things. So that's just a statement. This is not sustainable design. Cradle to Cradle says instead of designing for cradle to grave, like this product is designed for cradle to grave, because when we want a new one, when Apple comes out with a new Apple, what do you do with it? You might give it to your little sister for a while and then it goes into the junk. So it's better to design for cradle to cradle, that we can reuse it, make it different, design it in a different way. So those architects, William McDonough and chemist Michael Braungart, they created a book. Oh, I had a book actually here. The book, it's a very interesting book. If you don't like to read books, this book is easy to read. I would recommend read it because it reads as a novel and it gives you a lot of impact of information on how it works. They say waste is food. We don't have waste. I'm pretty annoyed, by the way, if councils talk about green waste. There is no such thing as green waste. Green is never waste. It's compost, it's food, it's whatever, but it's never waste. So I'm pretty annoyed with that saying. Products can be designed for the outset of food equals waste, so that after their useful lives they provide nourishment for something new. And it's either biological nutrients, which biodegrade, like things from the tree. The leaves from the tree are going back into the earth, and that's like this rattan sofa or this cardboard packaging. If you throw that in your compost heap, it will compost. If you haven't used any dirty stuff on your rattan, if you haven't proofed it with anything chemical, that is. Or you have technical nutrients, like that aluminium can, for example, that aluminium stuff. Aluminium can be recycled, and if you recycle it, it costs far less, and it's 100% recyclable over and over again. The same with glass. You can recycle glass 1 million times. So that's good materials to recycle. They even have a nice picture of that, how to show that. Everybody knows the 4 R's, and there are far more R's than only those 4, but these are the main one. Reduce is the first one. You reduce on materials, but it's not enough. Does that mean I have still 1 minute? Bell? I don't know. You heard a bell. So if you reduce, we have not enough on this world. There's not the trees are not growing fast enough to make your new stuff. The material, we can't get it fast enough out of the ground. So reduction is good, but I had made a note of that. But it's not stopping destruction. And reuse, it's good to reuse stuff as well, but you have to find the markets. Like I have some pictures here on the right. we send all our waste, what is still worth something, like the copper and stuff, we send that to China, where poor people are dividing it, or like to Africa, where they burn it to get the good stuff out of there, and they are stuck with the pollution, and they have a new market for the copper again. But it's not something you think it's very good to do. Recycle. Recycle is actually downcycling. That's the next picture, I think. And regulate. We have a lot of regulations, but regulate, as a designer, we shouldn't need regulations. If we do it right, you don't need regulations. Recycling is often downcycling, so I wouldn't call it recycling, because what happened to those PET bottles? It becomes eco-spun, and we make fleece clothes from it, and after you wear it, still ends up in landfill. Or they make those undercovers for carpets, or whatever from that PET bottles. But it only gets another life, often a less life, because the PET bottles don't go back into the bottle. It's not that they repeat in bottle, which should be, but it's not happening. Or like this example with that inner tire. They can make a nice bag of it, and that's the question if they really used tires or not. So it only gets new life for a short time, and then it's wasted anyway. And then we create those monstrous hybrids, as I said, like that chair. It's using a biological ingredient and a technological together, and you can't separate them. So and like the example is for that the takeaway cup. It's paper, and you think it's recycled by the paper, but there's an inside with polyvinyl because you don't want to leak it on your. What's that? Or the leather shoes, whereby vegetable tanning has been replaced by chromium. Like they used to do in the old days, they used to tan with vegetables, but that took too long time. I think it's something like 9 weeks. But now it's all tanned by chromium in China, because in like in Europe and other countries it's not allowed anymore because chromium is very poisonous. And so often, like shoes are becoming a hazard, because you think I have leather shoes, but it still has nasty stuff on them. And except it's not, like as a designer, it's not only the materials you look at, you also look at the production method. The people who are working in those tanneries, it's disgusting. It's really, they're prone to all kind of diseases, and it's really not nice. So you also look at the production process, not only at the material and the end result, because we wearing chromium tanned leather shoes doesn't harm us, but it harmed the people who made them. So as a designer, you also look at the production. So we make product life cycles. So we say if we use wood, for example, you have that reincarnation of you use the wooden forest, we make a surfboard of it, you play with it, it breaks. And if you use wood, you can give it back to nature because it biodegrades and becomes nutrients for new trees. So that's the ideal one, but most of them are not that ideal. But I keep it short, we have very complex product life cycles. But the main things we as designers have to look at is avoid the use of toxic substances during production, like the chromium or mercury and all those. I think all of you have those fancy mobiles and stuff, and iPads and iPods and whatever. All that stuff that's going in there, it has a lot of toxics, and there's a lot of people working on that. You might have heard of the Apple factory in China. And minimize materials used. Minimize energy and water required used during production process. Also minimize that's why keep it local is on there as well, logistics. We design for repair, reusability, disassembly. If you can't disassemble your product, like if I want to disassemble this microphone, it needs to be disassembled in like 30 seconds, so it's easy that I can use the one part and the other part, or it has to be the same material. But there's a lot of, look at a lot of things, like if you have your toothbrush and it's made of 3 types of plastic, how do you disassemble it? You need to know how to recycle. So as a designer, you look at them. So these are the main things you look at. So there's more to do than just design something nice that looks pretty, but it's also to look at how it's made and what from. There's a very interesting TED talk on cradle to cradle. And if you come home and you Google cradle to cradle, I would recommend watching it because it's that guy, that William McDonough, is he can tell very interestingly how it all works. I was this year in Holland, my native country, as you hear my accent. And they have the Floria, so I have a couple of photos here to quickly go through. They had a big stand with cradle to cradle in it, and to explain to the public how it works. So they had all those materials and with lots of descriptions there, and explain how it works, how we destroy our resources and that it becomes waste, and how we can improve that by the biological and technical nutrients. They had a information session, as this is my nieces and nephew looking hopefully interested. And they had a lot of information on companies who are already working with cradle-to-cradle approach, and that's quite a few there because it's quite big in the Netherlands. Like even simple things like your pen, like they use 98% recycled plastics. It's a big step for companies to change their methods. And often when you buy a pen like this, you don't notice that, but it's good to know that it's all happening. They have a far better system to recycle. This is like just a normal house, a garbage bin. They have the one you put the green stuff in, the other one the normal plastic and stuff, and magazines. The Gyprock, how that is made of recycled. So they had a lot of information. They even had material of t-shirts that you could eat. You would be able to eat it and still wear it. So they had all those, quite interesting companies. So this is the last one, I think. They show all kind of materials. So I only want to shortly say that products are designed with more than just drawing a nice picture. That's it.